Ever wondered who has the best ground in League One? Who has the tastiest pie? Who makes the most noise? Well, look no further as we go through the clubs and rate their grounds. First up is Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Exactly. The ground is called the Wham Stadium and has a capacity of 5,450. Not the biggest ground. Away fans are stood on a terrace, so not ideal if it starts raining. Plenty food and drink though, with some tasty pies. I rate the atmosphere as a 4 out of 10 when I went. We have Barnsley's Oakwell Stadium. This is a much bigger ground and seats. 23,287. The away end actually has a roof this time. It also has a huge concourse, so it's good for away fans. When I went, the home end of the ground was silent, but us away fans made up for it. I rate the atmosphere at a 7 out of 10. After Barnsley, we go to Bolton, to the University of Bolton Stadium, which has a capacity of 28,723. The away end was okay, but up in the top tier, very cold. We didn't make too much noise there because they were an okay set of fans. Power was also only average. I rate the atmosphere as a 7 out of 10. Now we go to Bristol Rovers Memorial Stadium, which seats 11,000. The away end was tin pot and it looked like a shed. They had a gazebo if you wanted to drink. The result made up for the poor facilities, though, with a 6-3 win. They need better toilets too. Not a great pie either. It's a good job we won there. The atmosphere was pretty good, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. Next, we have Burton Albion's Pirelli Stadium, which has a capacity of 6,912. Not the best one to talk about for us, as we lost 3-0. The ground was average at best. Nice and wide concourse, but didn't make up for an awful day. As could be expected, the atmosphere was also rather flat. I gave it a 4 out of 10. Next is Cambridge, the Abbey Stadium, which has a capacity of 8,127. It was an average ground for this level. Felicities were okay, but the atmosphere wasn't good. We did lose though, so that might be why. I rate the atmosphere as a 4 out of 10. Next is Charlton's The Valley, which seats 27,111. This is a huge ground for this level. Maybe too big as they struggled to create an atmosphere in it. The food and drink options were quite good though. The atmosphere was on a whole average, so 5 out of 10. The next ground is Cheltenham Suzuki Stadium with a capacity of 7,066. The ground was quite small and the away end was poor with limited facilities. They even turned the lights off to save electricity. The atmosphere was also quite quiet. Overall, and I gave it a 4 out of 10. Next up is the biggest stadium in League One with a capacity of 33,597. Derby County's Pride Park. Concourse was quite poor for the size of the ground, but plenty of food and drink options outside. Great stadium once inside though. It really helps harness a great atmosphere. It was a 9 out of 10 for me. We now move on to Exeter City's St James's Park. No, not the Newcastle one. The stadium has a capacity of 8,679. It's a nice lower league stadium with one of the stands, the Big Bang, being very impressive for this level. Again, the atmosphere was about average though, but the home spot was quite impressive. So It got a 6 out of 10 for me. Next is Fleetwood's Highbury Stadium, which has a capacity of 5,327. The ground was about average for this level, nothing special or of note. We lost when I went, so the atmosphere also wasn't the best. Not a great day all round. Nice bar though, 4 out of 10. Next up is probably the worst stadium in the league. And that's just me being nice. Forest Green's The New Lawn. Even the name is boring. The stadium holds 5,147. Tiny, right? The end is just dreadful. Felicities were just horrible. Hope we didn't want to meat pie. The atmosphere reflected the ground. Soulless. 0 out of 10 for me. Now, we move on to Ipswich Town's Portman Road, which seats a whopping 29,673. This ground has a perfect mix of size and soul. A great ground for away fans to visit. The concourse is reasonable, good amount of space, but when you're in your seat, you just know you're somewhere special. A great atmosphere can be had in there too. Overall, it's a 9 out of 10. Next up is one of the most modern stadiums and clubs in League One. MK Dons Stadium MK. The ground seats 30,530. The concourse is mightily impressive with numerous catering options available. Home fans can even get a Papa John's pizza. Only problem is, the fans will never fill the stadium, and it's wasted on fans that make little to no noise. Very tough to create an atmosphere when only the away fans make the noise. 3 out of 10 overall for me. Now we head back to the northwest for Morecambe Zuma Stadium with a modest capacity of 6,476, with only 2,247 seated. A small stadium for this level, but not uncommon to have them like this. Although it is a stadium that doesn't belong in the same leagues as those like Portman Road or Pride Park, it is still a nice away day to go to. For that, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Now we have Oxford's The Castleham Stadium, which seats 12,500. The stadium's a bit of a strange one, as it has 3 large stands, but one end of the stadium simply doesn't have a stand. It's a decent ground, not the greatest atmosphere, but the facilities are okay. Another out of town stadium though, making transport there a bit difficult. Overall, I rate it out a 6. Next up is Peterborough United and the Western Home Stadium. This ground has a capacity of 15,314. This ground is a mix of modern on the outside, while still harnessing some traditional areas. The atmosphere from the home end was very poor, even when they beat us 4-0. We made up for their lack of noise, however. Overall, I rate it at a 7. Next is Plymouth Argyle's home park, which has a capacity of 7,900. One of the longest away trips almost anyone in the league can do. A great atmosphere down there, and it was also a nice and friendly place to go. Good facilities and places for home and away fans to enjoy. Overall, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Next up, Port Vale's Vale Park, which has a capacity of 15,038. A bit of a quirky ground, as ground level for the away end is actually at the top of the stand. So it's like it is sat in a crater. An old school ground with a decent concourse. Nothing special, but better than a lot of Solars bowls we get nowadays. Yes, that was a dig at MK Dons. Overall, I gave it a 6 out of 10. Now we go to Portsmouth for Fratton Park, which seats 21,100 fans. The away end is great, but not very great facilities. It was a great soul to it. Both set of fans were brilliant when I went, and it was a surprise for me that I was even going. Overall, I rate it at an 8 out of 10. After Port Vale, we head to one of the most recognisable stadium names in the whole of English football. Sheffield Wednesday's Hillsborough. This iconic stadium that has hosted numerous FA Cup semi-finals is the biggest ground in League One, with a capacity of 34,835. As iconic as the stadium is, it unfortunately will be forever remembered for that one fateful day in 1989. For that reason, we won't give it a rating, but I will say that it always feels quite special when you are there. Next, we head to Shrewsbury Town's Montgomery Waters Meadow, which seats 9,877. An out-town stadium with plenty of parking and a nice fan zone that in the summer will be very nice for families, as is the case for some other stadiums in this league though. It seems like is little soul to the new stadium, and the atmosphere was hardly electric. Overall, I rated it a 5 out of 10. The second to last ground we have to discuss is Wycombe Wanderers Adams Park, with a capacity of 9,558. Not the greatest ground, but a nice fan zone outside, with a chance to have a drink and mingle with opposition fans. Although the price of the food was a bit steep, £7 for a pie. As away fans, we made a good noise, but the atmosphere was hardly electric. It gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Finally, we can discuss the best ground in League One. I promise, I'm not biased, but Lincoln City's NER Stadium or Central Bank is truly majestic. Built in 1895, the stadium has a rich history of football, a truly special place for fans to visit. With a fan zone dedicated to improving fans' match days and a stadium that harnesses a true roaring home atmosphere, it really does have everything on offer. It truly is the best ground in League One, and that is why I have given it a 10 out of 10. You just can't beat it. But really, try not to be biased now. League One has a huge array of stadiums, from Little Tin Pot Forest Green to the might of Pride Park. Each of things slightly differently, making every away day feel fresh and new. It is truly a great league to have your team playing. Overall, it gets a 10 out of 10.